everybody. Thanks for coming today. I'm excited to talk to you about monetizing data. And in particular, what I want to talk about today is monetizing data by meeting your end users' abilities. So before we get started, let me tell you who I am. My name is Liz Connors. I'm the VP of Data and Analytics at Headset. Headset is a data intelligence company in the cannabis space. So we provide data products or data as a service products for cannabis retailers, brands, investors, operators across the US and Canada. So me and my team at Headset, what we do is we have everything from data engineering all the way out to BI dev. And we also do a lot of consulting work on data. And that's kind of where some of this stuff will go today, are the things that we're doing with the data that we have to grow our product. So before we get started, let me tell you just a little bit about what we'll go through. So first, I want to give you an overview of Headset, just so that you can understand what it is that we do and have a better baseline for how we decided to grow some of our data products. And next, I want to talk about a little bit of our history, so the things we did first to monetize data. And then I want to talk about the things that we are doing today and hope to continue doing in the future. So this is us trying to grow our data product outside of maybe just the traditional dashboards that we used to have, and into products that really can kind of meet people at all the different places they are in their data journey. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Headset. We have 3 data products that we sell, and I'm going to start right there in the middle with our retailer product. Headset Retailer is very easy to understand because its name is quite simple. It's built for cannabis retailers. Headset Retailer brings the cannabis operators' point of sale data into our systems. And then what we do is create analytics tools for those retailers to use on their own data. So I call this BYO data. You come to Headset, you connect your data in, and you get access to our suite of retailer products. This should take a lot of the data. The goal is to take the data and make it easy for stores to make decisions and take actions based on the information they're gathering every day. The next product that we have that I'm not really going to talk about much today, but just to give you an idea about it, is called Bridge, all the way there on the right. And so what Bridge is a product that allows retailers, so retailers have already connected into us with their point of sale data, and Bridge allows retailers to give access to their vendors to see that data. So the biggest use case for this is a retailer will give access to the vendors that provide products to their store to see things like how many products are in stock. Are those products selling well? Have any of the products gone on sale? So this allows those vendors to understand if, for example, products are running low and maybe they should send a shipment over to those retailers. So this is one of the ways that we first monetized our data outside of retailer, was to allow retailers to sell access to that data to vendors, and we kind of broker that whole deal. And then our biggest product is all the way over there on the left, and it's called Insights. Insights takes all of the data that we're connected to. So today we're connected to something like 2,000 retailers across the United States and Canada. We anonymize all that data that we get, and we aggregate it, and we do a whole lot of statistics, a whole lot of data science with it, and we come up with market forecasts in the cannabis space. So with Insights, what we do is my team actually creates the data. We create data forecasts, and we sell access to that data through analytics tools to people that are interested in knowing more about the market. So maybe an investor wants to buy this data to understand how well brands are doing. Maybe a brand wants to buy this data to see how their competition is doing. Maybe a store wants to buy this data to better understand how to price their products. So this data aggregates all of that retailer data that we have, anonymizes it, and then creates those forecasts. So those are our 3 products today. I want to talk a little bit more about Headset Retailer. Headset Retailer is really one of my favorite products. And the reason is because the cannabis space tends to be a lot of mom and pops. There's definitely big MSOs that you've probably heard of, but for the most part, it's a lot of small operations. So even a really large chain of stores is probably only going to have 20 or 30 stores. So when you think about all of the information that these operators need, they're not very big businesses. They don't have giant groups of analysts and data engineers and BI developers to develop all of their analytic needs. But when you think about what a cannabis operator needs to know about their business, it's probably very similar between cannabis operator A and cannabis operator B. So what we built with Retailer was a way for all of these operators to connect in and get the analytics they need. So we only had to build the charts and graphs just the one time with Looker. And then we used embedded analytics to build these tools for our retailers So for me, this was a really cool space to work in because before I'd been working individually with clients. So we'd have to build out, individualized sets of dashboards and analytic tools for each individual client. And now we have this one really large product that satisfies 2,000 different customers' needs. And so to me, what was super cool was the efficiency of this product. So we only have to build it once and everybody can have access. This is just kind of an example of what some of this stuff looks like. We have a lot of dashboards that people can go in and understand sort of how their business is running. So next, let's talk a little bit closer about insights. What we discovered was we were tracking a really large amount of the cannabis industry through our retailer product. So today, for every dollar that's used to purchase cannabis, 25 cents comes into our databases. And actually, I should probably update these slides because we now have over 2,000 retailers across the US and Canada. So this is a huge amount of data. This is a very statistically significant sample of cannabis sales. And so what we did is we built a process that takes all of that data, it anonymizes it, it aggregates it, and normalizes it, and it creates projections of those total sales volumes. So this is kind of that broader process that we have underneath that creates that insights data. So remember, retailer data and bridge data are BYO data, right? We connect into your own data and sell you analytics tools. For these insights tools, what we do is we actually create the data and sell that data as well as the insights tools that sit on top of them. That's just, again, another picture of our dashboards. But now I want to talk a little bit about how we grow our product. So I'm going to focus on retailer just as we talk about growing our product. I think this applies to all of them, but it was easier to pick one. So the way that we had our product set up is first we have a free offering. So kind of that freemium model that a lot of startups have. So with our free offering, you can do things like track your daily sales trends, get alerts about when your inventory is running low so that you can order new products. We have some seasonal planning tools to help you plan for things like holidays. In cannabis, the biggest holiday is 420. And so being prepared for 420 is really critical, making sure that you have enough products and enough people working. And then finally, we had some marketing analytics. So there's a lot of promotions in cannabis depending on the market. And we have some tools that allow you to understand, are your promotions actually driving any increased volume and resulting in any increased revenue? So this was our first offering, and this was free. And then we decided we needed to grow that offering. We wanted to make some more money, as most investors want of all their startups. So when we think about growing our data product, to me, I really think there are 4 ways to grow it. There are probably more, but these are kind of the ones we think about. The first option is to find new users who have the same problem that needs solved, right? Your product solves a problem. So you just go out and find people that already have that problem and solve that problem for them. That's the easiest way to grow. That's just fancy talk for getting new customers. And we're definitely always trying to do that at Headset. But I think that there are a lot of other ways to grow as well instead of just acquiring new customers. So another option is to solve a new problem for our current customers. So we look at all the things that our tool does, and we talk to our customers, and we find, okay, there are actually some problems that they're still having that they don't have a solution for. So how do we solve that? The next option would be to solve a new problem for new users. So in this case, this could be like us going out and maybe trying to rebuild this model for, I don't know, CrossFit gyms or hair salons or something, right? So we go out and it's a similar problem, but it's not exactly the same. And it's an entirely new user base, an entirely new addressable market. And then lastly, you can solve the same problems you're solving, but better. And so what we did is we went to grow our product or our product journey. We definitely are always focusing on this option 1. Option 2 was kind of how we grew our product to start. I'm going to hop over option 3 because we're pretty squarely in the cannabis space, so we're staying there. And then I'm going to talk about how we're using option 4 today and in the future to continue to grow our total addressable market. So our first way to grow our product or monetize our product better was in this option 2. And what we decided to offer was an advanced offering. So through this, what we built, we turned our free product into a freemium product. So there's a set of basic dashboards and then a set of more in-depth dashboards. What I think was really cool about this is we modularized the analytics. So each little icon or graphic that you're looking at here is a different module that you can purchase. And each module has a purpose about what you're going to do when you sit down. So for example, our referral analytics allow people to better understand the referral programs that they're running, understand what types of customers they're bringing in. Are those customers, there's some cohort studies to know if those customers are any good or not. We have an inventory analysis and demand planning section where people can go in and understand things like what products aren't moving, should they better stock their stores, do they have some missing products, things like that. We've got a marketing analytics section, so we can go in and understand things like promotions and pricing, some of the advertising that's being run. I'm not going to go through all of these, but each one was basically an additional problem we wanted to solve for our users. So we bundled those together into suites of analytics tools, which we then sell back to our clients. Then what we thought about as we looked at our product, we are continuing to build modules, but we really thought that we had a whole lot of problems that were being solved. But one of the things we were hearing from our customers was that our dashboards and our data analytics tools had a lot of information, but these people didn't necessarily have time to interpret that information, and in particular didn't know what to do next when they got a hold of that information. So if you think about like the process from having raw data or no data all the way over to having that actionable insight, right? We've got the point where we collect data. So the point of sale systems did that, and Headset brought that data over into our environment. My team has some data engineers. We use Snowflake and Looker and DBT and Fivetran to clean up a lot of that data. So normalize it, make it nice and tidy so that it's easy to understand and interpret and consistent. Then we visualize that data. So again, my team has BI developers that go through and build a whole lot of dashboards for people. But they are just those, they're dashboards. You kind of saw pictures of them at the start. They tell you things like are sales going up or down? They tell you things like, did this marketing campaign do well? But they don't really give you any idea about what to do next. That is something you have to do on your own, right? You have to have that's why that little icon's there. Headset does those things in blue. The thing in green, though, you have to sit down at your little laptop and use your brain and decide what to do. But just like when we first developed Retailer, we thought, well, geez, a lot of the data points that people are looking for are similar. A lot of the insight that people are looking for is similar too. Like, which products should I not carry anymore? How well does my brand do compared to other brands? These are very standard questions, and everybody's really asking the same one. So what we thought about is, well, how can we build a product that actually meets people where they are? So what we wanted to do as we thought about developing these data products for that end user that's sitting there with their laptop is really think about what that person's doing as they sit there. And so I'm a statistician. I always have to have a scatter plot when I think about understanding any cohort of people. So what we did is we mapped our users and we picked two axes. We picked data literacy, which is down there on the bottom. And then we picked time devoted to analytics. And we broke all of our users into these two attributes and arrived at a set of quadrants. So when we think about breaking our users down this way, what we wanted to do is decide how does each user interact with our data. And so I think, at least to start, what we found is that dashboards kind of generally serve all users, right? Regardless of your data literacy, regardless of how much time you have, a dashboard is a pretty good place to start. But we also had people that were looking for other things. So when you think about people all the way up at that upper right-hand part of the graph, these are people with high data literacy, and they have a lot of time that they can devote to analytics. These people probably can run their own distributed database systems, right? They probably have their own Snowflake installation or something like that. So just below them, we have people that have fairly high data literacy, but maybe not quite as much time. Maybe their job isn't entirely analytics. Maybe it's just like using analysis to help them with their job. So here we have are probably analysts, maybe they're financial analysts. These are people that probably use Excel a lot in their day-to-day lives. There's someone that probably has a particular question that they want to dive deep into, but they might not necessarily be doing all the standardized reporting that someone up in that first quadrant would. Next, we'll move over to the left. These are people with low data literacy and not a lot of time. These could be executives or just people that are generally trying to integrate data into decision-making but don't have enough time to sit down and really do it. These people are looking for fast answers. They want the so whats. And then up there at the top, people with a lot of time for data analytics, but maybe not very much literacy. These are probably students, right? These are people that are just learning. Maybe they just took their first Coursera class on data science. So what we wanted to do was to develop some new products. And in particular, we're going to talk about products that we developed for quadrants 2 and quadrant 3. So for quadrant 2, this is a graph that was on one of our dashboards. And it's meant to help you understand the affinity of any particular demographic group to a brand. So if you wanted to interpret this graph, the first thing you'd have to understand is the way in which we classify affinity at Headset. So you have to go and read an article about how that works. In a nutshell, what we do is we compare the contribution of each demographic group to the brand versus the contribution of each demographic group to the category as a whole. So here what we're looking at is a gummy brand. So we're looking at a gummy brand in California compared to gummies as a whole. As we go to interpret this graph, what we first see is kind of these three groups are the main contributors of sales, both to the brand itself and to the category. But then a couple of things start to stand out. The first one is this Generation X male. This is a much larger percent of the brand's total sales than it is of the category as a whole. The next one that stands out are these millennial males and these Gen Z males. We're kind of noticing a trend. Both of these stand out with the brand seeing a lot more revenue contribution from these groups than maybe the category as a whole. So what we would say is this particular brand over-indexes to male. But that takes a lot of interpretation. I think that just took me about 2 minutes to explain to you, right? And I knew what it was. I was the graph's creator. I knew what to look for. But what we did with Looker was we took the same graph and we created reports underneath. So we have the graph and we use a whole lot of kind of LookML and some of the liquid properties and some of the parameters. And we built reports that basically go through and read these graphs and interpret them. So it explains how the analysis is done. It explains, in this case, we're looking at Cushy Punch gummies. It explains what groups over-index to this brand. It explains what groups under-index to this brand. And it explains actually some of the competitors as well. I didn't put the whole text on here because it would have taken up the whole slide. But basically, we have these PDF reports that we create that interpret all the data. Before to do this interpretation, we would either give people the dashboard and maybe they wouldn't understand, or we would do consulting services along with it. But it was taking us maybe 4 to 6 hours to build these reports for people and kind of do all the interpretation. But with Looker, what we're able to do now is actually just batch through these reports, so we have thousands of them available at our fingertips to send out to clients when they ask for this interpretation. Here's just a little bit of how we did it. I just couldn't have a slide or a deck where I didn't put up at least a little bit of code. I'm happy to talk about this more if anyone has questions. So then quickly, the next thing we built is down there for those people in cohort number 2. We built a product that we call Excel Connect. So built on top of Looker and using the Looker API, what we have is a plugin to Excel. So you can go in if you're a retailer and you can say, okay, well, you know, the dashboards that we had, they had a lot of information on them, but they didn't solve my exact, very specific question that only I'm going to have, and I'm only going to have it this one time, right? I'm sure if you're a BI dev, you hear this all the time. I have this very one specific question, and I'd love you to spend a ton of time making me a dashboard that I'm going to use once and no one else will reuse. So this starts to solve that problem. So what it is people open up Excel, they connect into Headset, which basically means they connect into Looker. And we're able to use the Looker API to pull the aggregations for this data for them. So they can go through and almost point and click and create these customized data tables that they can then use to dive into any of their analysis. So in this case, a lot of our retailers have really particular questions about how well certain things are selling. Maybe they want to do some very specific trending analysis. Maybe they just have Excel books and they're more familiar with Excel and they really want to work in Excel. So this is something that we built for them so that they can have something that's a little bit more flexible even than Looker, and allows them to build products, data products and data analyses for themselves without having to go all the way into our dashboards each time. That's just a closer up of it so you can see what it looks like a little bit. It's actually a really fun product. Great. Well, that's really all I was going to cover today. So just for some takeaways, the way that we at Headset thought about growing our data product, other than just acquiring new users, was first for building some new products for our current users, right? Solving additional problems. So that's where we went through and modularized out our analytics to have individual analytic tools that people can use. This expanded our addressable market because it allowed us to get deeper within each individual business and kind of have a product for, you know, each group, right? So we had a product for the marketing group, a product for the supply chain group, a product for the retail group, etc. And then the next thing we did is we tried to solve similar problems to what we were solving, but just better. So what we found was with our dashboards, the dashboards were great for like the average user, but the average user only explains so many. And maybe what we had, or not maybe, definitely what we had, were these cohorts of individuals with different amounts of literacy and time. And what we wanted to build was something that met them where they were today. So that was where we came up with report writing. So we built the product that helped write reports to give people interpretations of the data, as well as recommendations about what to do given the data that we see. But then we also built that Excel Connect, and this is meeting a whole different subset of users that might have very specific questions. They might need something that's a little more flexible and allows them to have more control over the analytics. That was built on top of the Looker API. So these are just a couple of ways that we expanded out what we're doing, sort of beyond just the dashboard, right? I think the dashboard solves a lot of problems, but it definitely doesn't solve all of them. And as we move through addressing the entire analytics need of an organization, I think we have to think about where dashboards work and where maybe another product might be better and could better suit their needs. And in particular, if you're trying to monetize data, give you something else to sell. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for having me. It was great to come and talk with you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm on social media, like everybody else in the world. All right. Bye, everyone.